Welcome back. Nigeria's stock market is the talk of the world this week. Best performing globally, an index giant putting us on its radar. But with inflation still sticky, amid the Middle East tensions and fresh data coming next week from the MDS, how solid is the foundation underneath all this celebration? I have two guests joining me to discuss this. We have Emmanuel Nwamaka, Head of Research at Blue Marina Asset Management. Emmanuel, welcome. And we also have Ambrose Abodion, Chief Research Officer at Invest Data Consulting. Welcome. Thanks so much for joining us. Ambrose, today happens to be your birthday, so it's this to say happy birthday.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, thank you.
So let's just look at what's happening, jump right into the discussions here. We see Nigeria's stock market is the best performing this week according to Bloomberg's tracking of 92 stock markets globally. And we beat South Korea by just about 1 percentage point. I think they came in at 66 points. And then the market just bounced back from that 224,000 low, the points we had last week where we closed, we thought would never recover. We are now back at about 243,000 points, and then less than a week. I'll be honest, I didn't see that coming. Did you two see it coming?
Well, first for the KOSPI, that is South Korea index, right? We sort of envisaged that to an extent because, if you look at the fundamental driving that index, it is largely driven by the AI exposure, right? Most of the market cap is dominated by, I think, SKNX and Samsung. So because of the bubble and AI issues, it kind of drove it upward. Then when it crashed, it was affected negatively. Hence, we now saw the dip. Then for NGS on the other side, it kind of coincides like coming out a period where we now have the bullish run in the market, solid fundamentals backing our market, corporate earnings released by company, and all of those factors influencing the market performance. So just the 10 bips gain was a very good one to lift us to the...
So what you're saying that we didn't beat them, that we didn't beat South Korea, that the market just collapsed and we just got lucky. Is that what you're saying? Is that what you're saying?
Actually, for me, I think it's beyond the bubble of the AI in South Korea market. Actually, when it comes to dollar return, look at how stable is the currency in this domain. Africa, Nigeria, our currency for January to date has been in a positive one, stable exchange rate, and that we have been like about 4.2 in terms of dollar growth for this January to date. That also impacted our nation ranking. But if you look at that of South Korea, they had about 5% loss, in terms of their dollar, activities. That means their dollar is weaker than the dollar return is weaker than ours, because ours for now, since we have gained almost 4%, that also in their state is about AI. But in Nigeria, our financial service is one that impacted our market. That's why we're seeing all those high cap stocks that are there. But because of the successful capital raise, that also have boost expectations. That's why if you check the fund that's entering the banking sector in Nigeria, it tells you that that is a attraction that foreign investors are seeing, and that will make us also to see that kind of bubble in the market, and that will make us to rank as number one now, followed by South Korea. Also, we have an African country that is there. Ghana is still there, and Ghana is because of stability also in Ghana. For me, it's a good one that Nigeria is coming up. But one thing is very, very important: ranking us to be one of the best market in terms of dollar return. It's about stability. We are earning it now from January to date. We have earned about 4 to 5% in terms of dollar stability, which has to make us to rank as well. But going to the future, don't forget this is another election year. It comes a lot of uncertainties. We believe that yes, our economy has ripe on reform. That story of reform also have attracted foreign flow into our economy, and that reform is stay there. That's why continuity is very, very important. We're not saying that yes, but if you look at policy going, if this government at the end of 2020. 7th January election continue. I mean, this reform was that I've brought back to this level also because also if another person come on board, there are major reforms that nobody wants to change. Removal of subsidy, education of exchange rate, nobody who come on board want to build on it because that is solid where we are standing as a nation. I believe that is where Nigeria has been. That's what we're reading all over the world today that Nigeria market is also for us to. Local investors here also are celebrating because I tell you, we have made money from January to date, and then those foreigners that are here, because of that gain of 4%, their portfolio has also increased. That is why we are ranked as the best performing market in the world today.
Okay, but Ambrose, you always say that the market in Nigeria is very stock is too concentrated and it's limited stocks, about 19 stocks driving the NGX, in terms of market capitalization. So, but has this 67% dollar return changed your mind right now?
No, it has not changed my mind, but I tell you that the banking sector really is an attraction we're having. And also don't forget that we also have the life of Ete and also and MTN. These are new tech companies that are coming up. When I'm tech company, they are inside of our ITC sector. But in South Korea, their AI or technology stock has rallied before now. When you now say the market was overvalued then, it had to decline. And the decline also part of what have brought them where they are today. That is why our own is that let our exchange rate be stable. That is where we can remain at this top for now. That means the CBN, for me also, I'll give kudos to our CBN today. When the man came on board, I was telling him, among people that were say what they are going to deliver, but I can see that she came on board, I see a bit stability in our effort. And also, luckily for us as a nation too, oil price is high. That's also support our standard reserve. And that's why we are being ranked, even the S&P line to bring us back, because they see that there are factors in favor of Nigeria as we speak now. And those factors were not there where we were removed from all those index. For me, I believe that this dollar gain is also open Nigeria to the broader world. There's something happening in Africa, we're in Nigeria. So it's good for us. It's good for our policy managers or to also keep that in that direction.
So I also like to add, right, apart from the fact that we've seen the robust banking sector. One key thing that made us stand out was how diversified our market is. If you check all the indices, right, you will see that apart from the banking, the oil and gas sector was also very, very solid. I mean, the oil and gas sector is like the highest performing stock in the market, in the market right now. Then we saw resilience from the industrial goods. WAPCO and Dangote Cement were all very, very solid. Thanks to the crude oil rally that supported Seplat and Aradel, which drove oil and gas sector. Then also we saw a lot of interest in consumer goods as well, right? We saw international breweries, we saw lots of PZ, Cadbury moving the market. You understand? This tells that there's a lot of diversification in the Nigeria stock exchange market. That is what that was what partly put us
in that
exactly in that position, alongside the FS.
Ambrose, you don't seem to agree totally.
Yes. For my own, the oil sector is just as a result of the breakout of the war. That was end of February that we are seeing. That means that is not a stable yardstick for this, because oil price can go up and down, but the financial sector is solid, and that drives any economy. That's why I say the financial sector is the engine of any economy. If our bank is solid today, I can see how the thing just bubbled and all those. It's because it's now everywhere. You can check in US. The website was called .com in US then. It also market bubble that was also going to affect, but later market also come home. Because that is what we saw in this kind of AI. Today, AI is just being attractive because they've seen the overvalue, but the pullback made that sector to be like a bargaining, what we call a bargain hunting sector for those that are playing that sector. But I tell you, the major where we stand at is oil price is high. And also, because it's high, we're able to have enough robust efforts that have supported our exchange rate. That is why. But in terms of those that are in the market, the life of Aradel, the life of Steplat, yes, don't forget that when the peace accord was signed, we saw how the oil stock across the globe was falling a pack of salt. The day the thing was signed, you can see that all of them were losing. Also, put market in red. It's just because this the new tension that just started again. You see oil price going up, but we believe that in the last quarter, because oil price was high, any sector, any company, especially in a nation that where there's oil producing in our nation, will earn more. Not those that are consuming, like Nigeria now that we're putting, because the barrel price is up, we're going to see reflecting on their earnings. That's just, but for for me, it's just in there's not a stable thing, because just make profits and pull out.
What about the fundamentals? I mean, what about the fundamentals? I quite understand the rationale why you are quite cautious around the oil and gas sector, because it's largely price driven, crude oil price driven.
Yes, because of the war.
But if you look at some of the key drivers in this sector, Seplat and your Aradel, right? For Seplat, you can say more a bourgeoisie stock for the read because of the cost. It's expensive, right? But for Aradel, we've seen how this stock rose from 500 naira, 400 naira, 400 to over 1,200. It was not just crude oil price alone. It was fundamentals. We saw the story from the expansion strategy coming from the Renaissance deal and, of course, the ND Western deal. Those are solid fundamentals that drove to that level. You may argue that the dividend yield they paid was not sufficient, 1.3% dividend yield. But then the fundamentals are still very, very attractive.
And so we see future prospects for Aradel. Definitely,
exactly.
We might pinpoint Aradel as we see prospect. Like personally, also I see prospect now, but I'm talking of what is also making us stand out in the rating we are seeing.
Okay.
Arade and the Steplat are in oil sector. Now, who know that sector oscillates because of the volatility in oil price. And don't forget that it's already a forecast that this year we're going to see a fall in demand for crude oil. That tells you that those sectors like Arade or this sector, tell that there will be volatility in their performance. But like what he said, because of the expansion Arade has done, we'll see prospect in that. But this oil price stability also is going to be part of it. But good news that there's oil on that in there in terms of gas. Gas is a very good thing that will support Arade and all those stuff in that sector. But in terms of ranking us, I think
I mentioned that it was because of the diversification. So it was not limited to oil and gas. Do not forget the telecommunication industry. MTN and Airtel was quite attractive.
You know that for the Airtel and MTN you just mentioned, Airtel was kind of for me because of arbitrage that Airtel was moving. In London, Airtel was almost trading about £30. And Nigeria, what about 6,000 naira? But then, Airtel is around 2,800. And one thing that last year, 2025, throughout, Airtel did not change in price because there's no volume. But there was volume in London market. People are trading there. That's why the price got as high as what? £30. Now, because they still that arbitration, now people here, and now that it's coming to a level with almost the $3 in London, I don't see that much movement in that stock. Apart from the proposed IPO they want to do for the money, so that will move. But for me, I believe that sector has come to stay because of we need that sector to run a context of communication. But I believe that the banking sector anytime, any day is the end of any economy. And I still say that is why go and check funds that enter Nigeria stock market today. Most of them are going to what? Into
financial
sector.
services.
And not only that, they participated when we were raising funds. Some of them were even buying into those companies, in those banks, rights issue. And
that's why the outflows we are seeing is also.
No, I believe that also if you look at what's also happening in Dangote, refinery or private placement or direct proposed. Already you can see that foreign investors are coming to Nigeria not because of only our policy. They see opportunity that Dangote is going to rewrite the story of Nigeria generally, because if we keep Nigeria like oil hub or for that, people say that coming to Nigeria has created opportunity for our banking sector. Because all the dollars that are coming, all the money is routing through our banks. Our banks are swelling up, even when they are standing up on a solid capital base. Dollar coming again is a plus for them, and that's why.
I'm not really at the sorry. I'm not really at the fact because I'm not really at the fact that banking sector is quite solid. I'm very focused on diversification.
Well, I believe that I'm not against diversification. That is how economics thrive. You don't look one side. But I'm saying that the major attraction for foreign investors now, they might go and check, where they are entering. The life of Dangote is cement is trying to go to London market. It has not gone to because it's a proposal that they want to until they approve them. But for now, don't have that. Don't forget that Stanbic is listed, in other markets apart from Nigeria. The life of GTB is also listed in apart. For that, I can see that attraction of GTB in London market and Nigeria is a plus. EcoBank and also outside Nigeria market is also a plus. Not that I'm saying that it's only banking, but I'm telling you that the key attraction for foreign investors, that sector is well regulated, and also don't forget that any economy, you want to do good sector is well regulated, so that also they want to protect themselves indirectly with that regulation. For that, our banking sector, we say here it's over-regulated. That our banking sector in Nigeria is over-regulated. We use it everywhere. As some people say that it's good for foreign investors watching from there that these guys they know what the CBN is doing to protect the the depositors' money. Even when they're now interested in the investors, but they know that if their money is in that banking sector, it's high protected to a level.
Well, that on his side. Well, I may be trying to agree with you. Right? But if you check how the market performed this week so far, right? Though we saw some level of interest in assets and first holdco, but most of the significant gain we saw were not from banking. Airtel Africa, Dangote Cement, MTN, ABMNG were what drove the market performance this week, right? So I'm not really at the fact that banking is solid, right? So that's what I'm trying to say. Okay, apart from banking, when I do simulation for a client, right? Yes, of course. Many clients want your Zenith Bank, your GT in it. But however, to reduce risk.
Okay.
That is when diversification comes
exactly.
in. You bring in your WAPCO, HBM energy, you bring in your MTN, your DANCN to kind of make it very
robust,
robust. Exactly. Then reduce risk. You get, because if you check the history of all these stocks as well, it may even shock you that the top performing stock may not be banking.
But you know that in the market, the most consistent sector that pay reward shareholders in this banking sector, apart from CBN coming in 2025 to give us some shock.
Ambrose, hold your thought there. You will continue this debate that you've got going there. Well, you know that this week S&P put Nigeria, that's the S&P Dow Jones Index, put Nigeria on its 2027 watch list for an upgrade, possible upgrade. But just putting us on the watch list. They've not said they're going to upgrade us. We're still on the standalone market for them. But I read that statement really carefully, going through it, and they said the things that we all know, the things we've done. Transparency has improved. One of the highlights, regulatory environment is now better. Reforms, But they also said policy consistency. They hammered on that. Still needs to work. And that's the same thing we've been hearing for 20 years now. They've been saying that about Nigeria for over 20 years. So I'll just ask plainly, is it that we are just celebrating the announcement, or is just a watch list we're celebrating because they're not telling us they're going to upgrade us?
Yeah, okay. I believe that.
I want to hear this from Emmanuel first.
Okay. One thing you know about the market is that market dislikes uncertainty more than they dislike bad news.
Yeah.
So when a bad news comes into the market, well, they may react maybe negatively after a while. Then later on, the bargain hunting activity will kick in.
Exactly.
But when there's uncertainty in the market, we see it will very the market will be so bearish they won't even know the direction. We saw that play out in November during the capital gain issue, where people were worried about the clarity around it. We saw that even play out for Aradel when we were uncertain around when they released their Q4 2025 audited financials and Q1 financials. So that tells that when there's uncertainty in the market is not really that solid. And this also have a way of affecting foreign investors. When there is no direction in your market, especially in the policy, they will be skeptical to come to your market. And the good thing with this S&P reclassification right now is that it gives us that visibility we want. Those insurance investors that want to benchmark their portfolio will also capture the NGS as well, right? It creates this capital inflow for us, and of course give us a broader exposure in the global market, right? Then look at what happened in 2023 when we were removed. It was because of FX illiquidity. People who invested were unable to pull out their funds. You get. But now check out how the market has been so far. The market infrastructure has improved. We've seen improved repatriation because they can now repatriate 100% of their investment. Because if they want to invest in your country, the key thing they ask is, can I pull out my capital after investment?
Yes, so how quick can I turn Naira to dollars?
Exactly. This was the major constraint they were having before. When they want to maybe inflow in Nigerian markets, there's no Naira, it takes them time. When they want to pull out their funds, start sourcing for dollar, those are bottlenecks that kind of limit their exposure in the market.
And looking at it vis-a-vis, let's juxtapose it with the FTSE. We saw them pausing our upgrade for September, saying that we have got into the T+1 settlement cycle. How does this, looking at the S&P, coming down to say, oh, we see good things coming from you guys, and FTSE saying, hold on, we need to watch you guys some more. What message does that tell you?
Actually, the way the foreign investor look at African markets, which Nigeria is part of, is that they see us as either we call ourselves frontier or emerging market, we will classify ourselves. They see that there are things going for us. What are those things going for us now? Check all Africa nation, more of reform is ongoing. That reform is part of attraction they are seeing. Not only that, because the price of commodity has gone up, most of the bonds that are in gold, like Ghana, I think that commodity also imparting them to have enough liquidity to kind of expand their economy to a new sector or new industry that will also support the economic expansion. But in Nigeria, I would say there that kudos to the government. The reform we're seeing in the government is not only within the government, it has kind of, like he just said, extend to also regulation. We're seeing SEC, we're seeing NSC bring a lot of reform to make the market more transparent, to make market more attractive. But we fall back to one good thing that is very, very important. Now, when we had the last MPC meeting, he said that we'll have about 9 months plus our FS support. That language alone give foreign investors a lot of hope.
Yeah.
And also at the time that in Nigeria, this time now, they are not struggling to take back their profit, their dividend away from Nigeria. And when I said at the beginning that because our stability, they are more relaxed that, oh, I come out at this price, I'm going at this price. But when you come at a lower price, I'm going at all you give you are made within that space, the exchange volatility will not wipe it in there. It will not attract the people. But now they're seeing stability. That is why even our consumer sector, our risk sector are still stabilizing, because when we change we unify the exchange rate, we saw how it threw a lot of company into red. But the stability we have seen, other people company cannot plan with the stability that this is where we are going. It helped them to fly. That kind of flow is what the foreign investors say, that this stability we are seeing is number one. When I said that reform comes not only from the CBN, and also, like I tell you, that continuity, just say that is very important, not policy somersault. But that stability is what we want. We want that continuity. And that is why I said, even when we are seeing another government coming, we are seeing this government going, continue, there are some reforms that whoever that is coming is going to change. But when you say four steps forward and 6 steps backward, we are not going anywhere. But if whoever that comes, this one continue, they know where they need to do some adjustment to create that stability we want. Okay. Like you just said, that stability is what foreign investors are watching. Okay. They have seen that for the past 3 years, our reform has moved from 0 point, let's say now, for example, to like 9 point. We are going to 20. We are seeing that we are moving steady. We are not going to 9 and go back to 14, back to 4. That's the reason what they are doing. I believe that if we continue in that direction, also don't forget that when it comes to economy, economic measures are very, very important. You have the right economic measures that understand that not just you are making a success today, how that success will sustain should be your priority. If you are making success, how to sustain that success is very key. That means if also all the reforms are imparting attraction, to sustain it so that it will keep them. Not that after seeing this, at the next time we will now go back to that is the area I'm concerned. Yeah.
So Emmanuel, just looking at the inflation numbers are coming, and this is inflation is still sticky in Nigeria. We've seen it on an uptrend 3 months. Very quickly, your thoughts, how does this help our policy consistency if the CBN has to publicly hike rates? And you know that when they higher the rates, the thinner the margins or the numbers we're going to be getting. So what is it that we need to do? What are we expecting next week? If you say when the CBN meets.
So right, first of all, the inflation we've been seeing are more crude oil price driven, right? We are seeing a slowdown before now, not until the US Iran conflict started and escalated global crude oil prices, right? Then, if you look at it deeply now, especially for the month of June and inflation we are expecting next week, we are envisaging, or we are rather expecting a slowdown in year-on-year inflation, both year-on-year and month-on-month actually. And this is underpinned, or rather supported by 3 key factors. One is the slowdown in energy prices. We can now attest the fact that global crude oil prices somewhat slowed in June compared to how it was in May, right? This will kind of support slower PMS prices. Of course, we saw down to, reducing its own gantry price, fell to about 1,175, then reduced further to 1,125 naira per liter. You get, so those are factors that kind of supported transport, then maybe influence inflation.
I think I'm going to bring you guys both for a round 2 of this conversation, because unfortunately, regrettably, we've run out of time. I just want to say one last word. Just very quickly, just want to end it. Do you see the market going up or down? Just one word in half 2.
Market oscillates.
Volatility is what you see. Thank you so much, Mr. Ambrose Omodian, Chief Research Officer, Invest Data Consulting, and also Emmanuel Nwamaka, Head Research, Blue Marina Asset Management Limited. Very lovely insights this evening. Thank you so much.
That's very nice.
And that's it on the program. Remember, whether the markets are bullish or bearish, knowledge is your best investment. Keep watching, keep learning, and keep growing your financial savvy. You can catch us again on our YouTube channel. I'm Will Ibong. Bye for now.